Edgar Allan Poe was born in Boston, Massachusetts in the winter of 1809. A man famous for writings of the macabre, Poe's own life was riddled with his own tragedy, terror, and woe. Edgar's parents died before he was 3 years old, and he and his sister and brother were separated, taken in by different families. He was sent to London and sent back home. Dropped out of college with a drinking addiction and gambling debts. His adopted mother died, and he joined the army but was financially cut off from his adopted father and failed out of the academy. He struggled for years as a poet and a writer. He married his 14-year-old cousin, and when she died just 10 years later, he was bedridden for a year with grief.
Even his death is a mystery, much like a mystery he himself might have written. He disappeared for nearly a week in Baltimore in the year 1849. When he was found in a public house, he was then taken to a hospital. He lapsed in and out of consciousness for a week. He was never able to explain what happened to him before he died in that hospital in Baltimore in 1849.
Poe is remembered today for his many incredible short stories and poems. He is credited as the father of science fiction and the mystery genres, and with solidifying the popularity of the American short story. While short stories like A Telltale Heart and The Cask of Amontillado are among his greatest successes, Poe's first passion was as a poet. Some of his poems you've undoubtedly heard of, some of which you may be hearing for the first time today. We thank you for coming this afternoon to our show, and hope that these dramatic readings of Edgar Allan's poetic work fill you with dread, terror, and misery.
Spirits of the Dead, written in 1827 when Poe was only 18 years old. Thy soul shall find itself alone, mid dark thoughts of the gray tombstone. No one of all the crowd to pry into thy hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude, which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and their will for the night be still. Though clear shall frown, and the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heaven, with light like hope to mortals given, but their red orbs without beam to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever, which would cling to thee forever. Now our thoughts thou shalt not banish. Now our visions ne'er to vanish. From thy spirit they shall pass no more, like dewdrops from the grass. The breeze, the breath of God is still, and the mist upon the hill, shadowy, shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token how it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries.
The Valley of Unrest. Once it smiled, a silent dell, where the people did not dwell. They had gone unto the wars, trusting to the mild-eyed stars, nightly from the azure towers, to keep watch above the flowers, in the mist of which all day the red sunlight lazily lay. Now each visitor shall confess the sad valley's restlessness. Nothing there is motionless, nothing save the airs that brood over the magic solitude. Ah, but no wind are stirred those trees that palpitate like the chill seas around the misty Hebrides. Ah, by no wind those clouds are driven that rustle through the unquiet heaven uneasily from morn till even, over the violets there that lie in myriad types of the human eye, over the lilies there that wave and weep above a nameless grave. They wave. From out their fragrant tops, eternal dews come down in drops. They weep. From off their delicate stems, perennial tears descend in gems.
Radiant palace reared its head. In the monarch thought's dominion it stood there. Never seraph spread opinion over fabric half so fair. Banners yellow, glorious, golden, on its roof did float and flow. All this, was in the olden time long ago. And every gentle air that dallied in the sweet day, along the ramparts, plumed and pallid, a winged odor went away. Wanderers in that happy valley, through two luminous windows, say spirits moving musically to a lute's well-tuned law, round about a throne where sitting, poor Phrygian, in state his glory well befitting, the ruler of the realm was seen. And all with pearl and ruby glowing was the fair palace door, through which came flowing, and sparkling evermore, a troop of echoes, whose sweet duty was but to sing, in voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king. But evil things, in robes of sorrow, assailed the monarch's high estate. Ah, let us mourn, for never morrow shall dawn upon his desolate. And round about his home the glory that blushed and bloomed is but a dim remembered story of the old time entombed. And travelers now, within that valley through the red-litten windows, see vast forms that move fantastically to a discordant melody, while like a ghastly rapid river through the pale door a hideous throng rush over forever and laugh, but smile no more.
By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon named Night on a black throne reigns upright. I have reached these lands but newly, from an ultimate dim Thule, from a weird clime that lieth sublime, out of space, out of time. Bottomless vales and boundless floods, and chasms and caves and titan woods, with forms that no man can discover, for the dews that drip all over. Mountains toppling evermore into seas without a shore, seas that restlessly aspire, surging unto skies of fire, lakes that endlessly outspread their lone waters, lone and dead. Their still waters, still and chilly, with the snows of the lolling lily. By the lakes that thus outspread, their lone waters lone and dead, their sad waters sad and chilly, with the snows of the lolling lily. By the mountains, near the river, murmuring lowly, murmuring ever. By the gray woods, by the swamp, where the toad and the newt encamp. By the dismal tarns and pools, where dwell the ghouls. By each spot the most unholy, and each nook most melancholy, where the traveler meets aghast sheeted memories of the past, shrouded forms that start and sigh as they pass the wanderer by. White-robed forms of friends long given in agony to the earth and heaven. For the heart whose woes are legion, 'tis a peaceful, soothing region. For the spirit that walks in shadow, 'tis an El Dorado. But the traveler traveling through it may not, dare not openly view it. Never its mysteries are exposed to the weak human eye unclosed. So wills its king, who hath forbid the uplifting of the fringed lid. And thus the sad soul that here passes beholds it but through darkened glasses. By a route obscure and lonely, haunted by ill angels only, where an eidolon named Night on a black throne reigns upright. I have wandered home but newly from this ultimate dim Thule.
The Conqueror Worm. Lo, 'tis a gala night. Within the lonesome latter years, an angel throng, bewinged, bedight, in veils and drowned in tears, sit in a theater to see a play of hopes and fears. While the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres, mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly mere puppets they, who come and go, at bidding of a vast formless thing, that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from their condor wings invisible woe. That motley drama, oh be sure, it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased for everyone by a crowd that seized it not, through a circle that ever returneth in, to a self-same spot, and much of madness and more of sin, and horror the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes with mortal pangs. The mimes become its food, and seraphs sob at vermin fangs and human gore imbued. Out are the lights, out all. And over each quivering form the curtain of funeral pall comes down with the rush of a storm. While the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is a tragedy. Man and its hero, the Conqueror Worm.
As others were, I have not seen. As others saw, I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken. My sorrow I could not awaken. My heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still, from the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view.
It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. She was a child and I was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud by night, chilling my Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of a cloud, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than me. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I see the bright eyes of my beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre by the sea, in her tomb by the side of the sea.
Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells, how they tinkle, 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 in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time time in a sort of runic rhyme, to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight, from the molten golden notes, and all in tune. What a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells, how it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, bells, bells of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Hear the loud alarum bells, brazen bells, what a tale of terror now their turbulency tells. In the startled ear of night, how they scream out their affright, too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek. Shriek out a tune in a clamorous appealing to the mercy of fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, higher, higher with a desperate desire, and a resolute endeavor now to sit or never by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, bells, bells. What a tale their terror tells of despair. How they clang and clash and roar, what a horror they outpour. To the bosom of the palpitating air, yet the ear, it knows by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows, yet the ear distinctly tells in the jangling and the wrangling how the danger sinks and swells. By the sinking and the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 bells in the clamor and the clangor of the bells. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their melody compels in the silence of the night. How we shiver with affright at the melancholy meaning of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, the people, they that dwell in the steeple all alone, and who tolling in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart of stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls. And their king it is who tolls, and he rolls and rolls and rolls a paean from the bells, and his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances. And he yells, keeping time in a sort of runic rhyme to the paean of the bells, keeping time in a sort of runic rhyme to the throbbing of the bells, bells, to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time as he knells in a happy runic rhyme, to the rolling of the bells, bells to the tolling of the bells, bells to the moaning and the groaning of the bells.
Thank heaven, the crisis, the danger is past, and the lingering illness is over at last, and the fever called living is conquered at last. Sadly, I know I am shorn of my strength, and no muscle I move as I lie at full length, but no matter, I feel I am better at length, and I rest so composedly now in my bed that any beholder might fancy me dead, might start at beholding me, thinking me dead. The moaning and groaning, the sighing and sobbing are quieted now with that horrible throbbing at heart, that horrible, horrible throbbing. The sickness, the nausea, the pitiless pain have ceased with the fever that maddened my brain, with the fever called living that burned in my brain. And oh, of all tortures, that torture the worst has abated, that terrible torture of thirst. For the naphthaline river of passion accursed, I have drank of a water that quenches all thirst, of a water that flows with a lullaby sound from a spring but a very few feet underground, from a cavern not very far down underground. And let it never be foolishly said that my room it is gloomy and narrow my bed, for man never slept in a different bed, and to sleep you must slumber in just such a bed. My tantalized spirit here blandly reposes, forgetting or never regretting its roses, its old agitations of myrtles and roses. For now, while so quietly lying, it fancies a holier odor about it of pansies, a rosemary odor commingled with pansies, with rue and the beautiful Puritan pansies. And so it lies happily, bathing in many, a dream of the truth with the beauty of Annie, drowned in a bath of the tresses of Annie. She tenderly kissed me, she fondly caressed, and then I fell gently to sleep on her breast, deeply to sleep from the heaven of her breast. When the light was extinguished, she covered me warm, and she prayed to the angels to keep me from harm, to the Queen of the angels to shield me from harm. And I lie so composedly now in my bed, knowing her love, that you fancy me dead. And I rest so contentedly now in my bed, with her love at my breast, that you fancy me dead, that you shudder to look at me, thinking me dead. But my heart, it is brighter than all of the many stars in the sky, for it sparkles with Annie. It glows with the light of the love of my Annie, with the thought of the light of the eyes of my Annie.
To the river. Fair river, in thy bright, clear flow of crystal wandering water, thou art an emblem of the glow of beauty, the unhidden heart, the playful maziness of art in old Alberto's daughter. But when within thy waves she looks, which glistens then and trembles, why then the prettiest of brooks her worshipper resembles. For in my heart, as in thy stream, her image deeply lies, the heart which trembles at the beam of her soul-searching eyes.
Broken is the golden bowl, the spirit flown forever. Let the bell toll. A saintly soul floats in the Stygian river. And, Guy de Vere, hast thou no tear? Weep now or nevermore. See, on your drear and rigid bier low lies thy love, Lenore. Come, let the burial rite be read, the funeral song be sung, an anthem for the queenliest dead that ever died so young. A dirge for her, the doubly dead, in that she died so young.
Wretches! Ye loved her for her wealth, and ye hated her for her pride. And when she fell in feeble health, ye blessed her that she died. How shall the ritual then be read? The requiem, how be sung? By you, by yours, the evil eye? By yours, the slanderous tongue, that did to death the innocents that died, and died so young?
Picavimus, yet grave now thus, but let a Sabbath song go up to God so solemnly the dead may feel no wrong. The sweet Lenore hath gone before, with hope that flew beside, leaving thee wild for the dear child that should have been thy bride. For her, the fair and debonair that now so lowly lies, that life upon her yellow hair, but not within her eyes. The life still there upon her hair, the death upon her eyes.
Avaunt! Avaunt from fiends below, the indignant ghost is riven from hell unto a high estate, far up within the heaven. From grief and groan to a golden throne beside the King of heaven. Let no bell toll then, lest her soul amid its hallowed mirth should catch the note as it doth float up from this damned earth. And I, tonight my heart is light. No dirge will I appraise, but waft the angel on her flight with a paean of old days.
Lo, death has reared himself a throne in a strange city lying alone. Far down within the dim west, where the good and the bad and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. Their shrines and palaces and towers, time-eaten towers that tremble not, resemble nothing that is ours. Around by lifting winds forgot, resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. No rays from the holy heaven come down on the long night time of that town, but light from out the lurid sea streams up the turrets silently, gleams up the pinnacles far and free, up domes, up spires, up kingly halls, up fanes, up Babylon-like walls, up shadowy, long-forgotten bowers of sculptured ivy and stone flowers, up many and many a marvelous shrine, whose wreathed friezes intertwine the viol, the violet, and the vine. Resignedly beneath the sky, the melancholy waters lie. So blend the turrets and shadows there that all seem pendulous in air, while from a proud tower in the town, death looks gigantically down. Their open fanes and gaping graves yawn level with the luminous waves, but not the riches there that lie in each idol's diamond eye. Not the gaily jeweled dead tempt the waters from their bed, for no ripples curl, alas, along that wilderness of glass. No swellings tell that winds may be upon some far-off happier sea. No heavings hint that winds have been on seas less hideously serene. But lo, a stir is in the air. The wave, there is a movement there, as if the towers had thrust aside in slightly sinking the dull tide, as if their tops had feebly given a void within the filmy heaven. The waves have now a redder glow. The hours are breathing faint and low. But when amid no earthly moans, down, down that town shall settle hence, hell rising from 1,000 thrones shall do it reverence.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more." Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, and hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, nothing more. Deep into the darkness, peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dreamed before. But the silence was unbroken, and stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word Lenore. Merely this, nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, and my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, nor a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grace and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on this night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled at this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being is ever was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled, the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoke, doubtless, said I, what it utters is the only stock in store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. And then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant by croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease, reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath sent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I. Thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed, thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, within the distant Aden, it shall clasp the sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. And quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave me, black plume, no black plume, as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart. Take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul, from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore.
And supporting us and the poetry and Edgar Allan Poe. It was a delight to have you guys, and I hope you had some fun today. Thank you very much.